is Dr. Robert Breedlove, dermatologist in Stillwater, for a little bit now, huh?
Yeah.
Dr. Breedlove began cruising in the early 1980s with his wife. To date, they've logged 80 ocean and river cruises aboard 15 different vendors. They've visited, guess how many countries they've visited? Anybody have a good guess?
Ask the daughter over there.
I hear 50, I hear 70, I heard 200. You aim high. I like that about you, military. It is 102. But that's a lot. You really didn't think it was 200. You were just going high so you didn't get the under, right? You just hit a lot of spots. And plus 80 cruises, that's good. That's just good math. She's wise. You do need to stay with us. 102 countries on 6 continents, making him a member of the Travelers Century Club, which I was today years old when I found out that was a thing. So, everybody, please welcome Dr. Robert Breedlove.
I'm old school here, so we don't have PowerPoint, but I'm delighted to be here. Chris Norris and I got together on this, and speaking about one of the things that I'm very, very passionate about. I have several passions in life: faith, family, travel, officiating, healthcare, all passions. So today, this is a tough crowd, I've noticed the last 15 minutes, so we're gonna make this as informal as possible. I know that Chris said it's usually 20-minute talk and 10-minute Q&A, but we'll alter that a little bit because I'm at the podium and I have the power to do that. And so if you want to ask a question anytime during this presentation, please raise your hand and ask it. So let's talk about cruising. Cruising is obviously one of the ways to travel, and it's an amazing way to travel. Okay, now we're going to work off a little lunch here. By a show of hands, how many have been on at least one river or ocean cruise? Boy, I'm talking to the choir, aren't I? Okay, so you all know the basics of it. I'm not going to touch on that at all then, because you all know about it. But let me tell you how much it's changed since Debbie Breedlove and I first went to Alaska in the early 80s on cruise number 1. Oh my gosh, has it taken off? Why has it taken off? 96% of people that cruise today, approximately, give or take a percent, when they come back and it's yes or no, did you like it, it's yes. I've been a strong advocate over the years that the only time you can have a bad experience on a cruise is A, you get sick, or B, the ship sinks. And I haven't really had either one of those, fortunately. But it's the greatest way to get from point A to point B. And it sounds like the lady knows all about how you can visit with that too. It is absolutely amazing to be able to throw all your stuff down. Before it hits the ground, somebody's picked it up and run off with it. Next time you see it, it's in your cabin. And you don't have to worry about anything else except getting out of bed in the morning. Everything is taken care of, everything. And it's so leisurely done. And those that have traveled a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of you have, traveling is a hassle. It's a real hassle, especially traveling by air nowadays. It's not what it used to be, Toto. It's really different. So cruising is so relaxing for this guy. That's the reason he does it. You have to worry about anything. So do you book it yourself? How do you handle all that? Well, I've been all over the board with handling it. A lot of them I handle myself, or I employ a travel agent. The only issue with employing the cruise line is that, guess what? They have a vested interest. They want you to do X, Y, and Z that would benefit them. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you know the ins and outs of cruising. And but I usually do a travel agent because it's a hassle a little bit doing it on your own. Where are the most popular destinations today? Well, everybody in this room would know that. Caribbean is by far the number one. That's what kind of started the whole thing. What's number two? Mediterranean. What's number three? The Baltic. What am I talking about? Oh, Scandinavian countries and Northern European countries. North America has come into play a fair amount in the last few years. And then what other locations have come up like rocket ships are the polar regions, Antarctica and the Arctic. When she was mentioning what we've done in the past, the only continent we haven't been to is Antarctica. Has anybody in here been to Antarctica? Very good. Did you enjoy your trip?
I did. I just got back. I just did it in January.
And who did you go with?
Answer Fly Expeditions. It was more of an expedition.
Yeah, sounded like one of those ones where you were probably cracking ice and looking in a microscope. Yeah. Well, the lady that I've slept with for 45 years wants to go to Antarctica really, really bad, and that's on the short list of ours. My sister went, and she had quite an experience. This was 20 years ago. If you did the Drake Passage, I'm talking to you. Who all knows where the Drake Passage is? Good, we got a few. It's the body of water between the tip of South America and Chile and Argentina and Antarctic continent. It's the most treacherous water in the world. If you're computer people that want to go watch about rolling on a cruise ship, watch some of the videos from that when they're in the Drake Passage. Well, let me tell you what the cruise industry's done about that. It's expanded so much that they've got every I dotted and every T crossed almost up to now. So for those of us, me included, that don't want to experience what she experienced in the Drake Passage for 4 days, 2 going, 2 coming back, from Ushuaia, Argentina, at the tip of Argentina, about 6 or 7 vendors now, started with 1 about 5 years ago, now it's up to about 6 or 7, that tells you how popular it is. You get on an airplane, a military type airplane, and you fly 2 hours from Ushuaia and you land on the Antarctic Peninsula at a military base. And they take you by bus to the cruise ship that did the Drake Passage with passengers on it, but some empty cabins too, obviously, for you. You are bused to the cruise ship, you get on the cruise ship, you do a week in Antarctica with the penguins and all the assorted stuff there and kayaks and myriad of activities. After usually 7 days, sometimes 5 or sometimes 6, you go back to the military place, you get on the plane and you fly back to Ushuaia. So you don't do the Drake Passage. And sign me up for that, because I'm not the best with this kind of stuff on the open seas. My wife loves it. Me, not so much. So how many cruise ships, how many ocean cruise ships out there right now? About 325. How many river cruise ships? About 410. How many different riverboat vendors? 27. How many different ocean vendors? 51. Who are the major players in the ocean cruise business? Carnival Corporation. Back when Love Boat was doing its thing in the 70s and getting the popularity going for the cruising, Princess, of course, benefited from that greatly. The man who started Carnival started buying other cruise lines. And let's see if I can remember. I think they own 8. They own Carnival, they own Holland America, they own Cunard, they own Costa, they own Seabreeze, they own P&O, they own Princess, and they own AIDA, A-I-D-A. That's 95 ships under their flag. They're based in Miami, like a lot of them are. And if you've cruised with one of those 8, you are in their club, which means you get benefits from another one that's within their organization, i.e. discounts. Everybody, you know, cruising's no different than any other business. They put carrots out there by a lot of them, because if that ship doesn't sail full, they're losing money. It's just like a motel. They want beds and heads out there. So they offer you incentives if you've been with any of those cruise lines that they control. So who's number 2? Royal Caribbean. They have about 61, I think. They have 3 cruise lines. They have Celebrity and they have Silver Sea. Okay? COVID did a number on the cruise industry. They took these almost billion with a B, billion-dollar vessels and had to park them. And they had to maintain them too. So they kept a skeleton crew, about 10% of the normal crew, to maintain them while we lived through that nightmare. And many of the cruise companies that were borderline or close to borderline were no longer borderline. They went either belly up or they were bought out by Big Brother above them. And it's amazing that any of them survived, because, you know, it was about, if I remember correctly, it was about 18 months. It may have been longer than that they couldn't take one passenger anywhere. So that was a big, big deal for them. The third largest one is MCS, I think it is. I have not cruised with them yet. Has anybody in the room cruised with them? They're kind of a Johnny come to the party lately. They're I believe, Italian and Swiss company. They advertise a lot on TV. Somebody asked me about them the other day, because I get asked questions about this a fair amount. And I said, you know, I haven't cruised with them, but I've done a little research, and their ships seem pretty nice. And then fourth in line is NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line, which, interestingly enough, about 10 years ago, Carnival tried to buy them. And at that time, the Norwegian government controlled most of their holdings, and they said no. Maybe it's like Trump buying Canada. I'm not sure about that. But they said no, and they're they survived. They have about a 9% share, and they have Oceania and Regent Seven Seas cruises are under their flagship. And I've been with all those vendors many times except for MSC. So what makes an expensive cruise and an inexpensive cruise? I'll pick on you on that. What do you think is the major difference between high-end cruises and low-end cruises? You didn't know you'd have audience participation today, did you? I'm sorry? Yeah, that's part of it for sure. Probably the biggest 2 factors in the cost of a cruise is the crew to passenger ratio. On the very high-end cruises, which I've been on a few of those, it's, in some cases, folks, it's over 1 crew member to each passenger. Now, in the medium price and in the lower price cruises, it's more of like 2 or sometimes 3 to 1. That would be 3 passengers to every 1 crew member. Believe it or not, even though those people work for not very much money on that ship, that's the biggest expense they have, of course, is labor cost. And the other major factor is the food. The very high-end cruises, the food's very expensive for them to get it, and it's very, very nice. And that's one of the reasons you pay, in many cases, at least $1,000 a day for 1 person. And that's a lot of money when you see some of the ads at less than $100 a day at the other end of the spectrum. As far as the crew is concerned, those people work 77 hours a week for 10 months. And I've been on cruises a lot where I ask people, especially in the food service area, where are you from, and what have you done besides this? Because I ask a lot of questions, don't I, Michelle? Have you noticed that over the years? And so it's not unusual to have engineers, bankers. I know we had a new banker here today. Back in wherever, Indonesia, whatever, that's what they did. And they're making more money on the cruise ship than they are if they were in their occupation, which is kind of startling. And here's the other thing. You get on there and you see how hard they have to work, and it's so easy to feel empathy for those people because they really bust it on those ships. But let me tell you, if they didn't want the job, they would be run over by the 58 people behind them in line that do want the job back in wherever they came from. So, you know, they keep the job. Let me compare that to an American crew. NCL has a ship that does Hawaii, just Hawaii. And you may have been on it before. It's called the Pride of America. And because they stay in American waters, they don't go international at all, they have to have an all-American crew. All the riverboats that work in America, which is a fair number, and I'll touch on river cruising in just a minute, they have to have an all-American crew. So we're on the Pride of America in Hawaii a few years ago, and we're on the back deck there eating lunch, and a kid comes up, and I can hear him talking, and he's ready for questions for me, Michelle. So he's cleaning our table, and I said, and so I said, where are you from? You ready for this? Jinx, Oklahoma. Okay? But here's the rest of the story, Paul Harvey. It cost $16,000 to train each one of those people on the cruise ship. So before they've worked one day for that cruise line's got a lot of money invested in those people. So he tells me this is his first cruise. I think we've stopped, this maybe getting ready for the second port stop. His group, these are all American all America nationality kids that are on this ship that he trained with, and he trained with 58 people. And after the first, at the first stop, I think it was Maui, 23 of them said, I'm out of here, because it was too hard to work after 2 days on the ship, or 1 day on the ship. And so guess what? They were shorthanded because they had 23 people mutiny off the ship because the work's so hard. Americans, you know.
How many quit because you interviewed?
I think they were the captain. Don't laugh, that just encourages her. Please, please. Okay, let's touch on river cruising.
I have a question.
Okay, good.
Can we keep her?
Yeah. Yeah. With Pride of America?
With Pride of America. And there were a few, I would have called them some international staff there, but I think they probably lived in Hawaii because there's a lot of Asian people there. But I have to say I was not disappointed one bit with the staff or the food, or I was disappointed with one port that we called on, but it was how you had to get off the ship. And it was on Maui, because they couldn't park. You don't park a ship, do you? Anyway.
That's okay. We understand. We're all friends.
That port had burned during the fire, but I was not disappointed one bit.
Yeah, to be transparent, my experience with Pride of America was early on. They've been doing that about 10 years. NCL put that ship in the water over there as a unique thing, and but I will add on to the rest of the story in that. It was so apparent. On most cruise ships, when you lay your glass down and you go up and go over there, if you don't watch it, that glass is gone by the time you get back, because they're so all over that stuff most of the time. on that particular cruise where we had the issue of where the 25 of them were mutiny on the first port stop, the tables were on the back there where we were. 45 minutes later, after somebody had vacated them, it still looked like a train wreck because they didn't, and it's so glaringly apparent. But that was a long time ago, and I'm sure NCL has probably worked through those issues. Okay, river cruising. How many of you have done that? Half of you, that's pretty good. I've done about 6 of those maybe. Europe and America. They go now. That part has just gone crazy too, positive. They go to Egypt. They go to Southeast Asia now. We went on one in China. We spent 10 days on the Yangtze River in China. They go to, let's see, where else? Portugal. You go to Portugal on them. Of course, Portugal's part of Europe, and of course the Rhine and the Danube are heavily trafficked. But the difference for those who not have done it is this. Those of you that have done an ocean cruise but have not done a river cruise, the difference is the river cruise is like cruising through somebody's backyard. It is unbelievable. You see all kinds of things from the riverboat that for the ocean you just see the blue water and whatever. It is unbelievable. And they get local talent on at every stop. You practically park it. If Stillwater was a river port, they'd park the boat at 6th and Main. So you got to walk about 100 steps to be anywhere. It's just an incredibly different experience. And the amenities, when we first did river cruises, the amenities were kind of Spartan. You really get to know the people too that you're cruising with because it's usually only 100 passengers on those things versus the Icon of the Sea now has capacity. It's the largest cruise ship in the world for 7,800 people with 2,400 crew. That's almost 10,000 people floating on the ocean. That's unbelievable. And they just keep getting bigger. Back to the river cruises. Much more homey experience. The amenities now are almost as much as the amenities on the ocean cruisers, but not quite. Going back to the ocean deal now, in order to be the sharpest nail in the box, here's some of the things that you can enjoy on some of the ships. Bumper cars, zip lining, skydiving, ice skating. That's it. Flow rider, which is like being a surfer out there. Miniature golf, tennis, pickleball, hitting miniature driving ranges, rock climbing walls. What else? Bowling alleys. Holy cow. That's why my wife likes the sea days where you don't put into port, better than the port days. I'm the other guy. I like the port days because I'm an adventuresome person. She is too, but only because I keep dragging her around, okay? I like to see new things, new experiences. So springing back to the river thing, you don't see as much diversity because you're not going from one country necessarily to another, although some of the river cruises go to multiple countries and are long cruises. But you sure get immersion in that country, whether it be the Netherlands or Germany or wherever it happens to be. And that market is just going crazy. By far the biggest player in that market is Viking, but other people they have the high end, the middle, and then the low end too. And it's the same thing. It's the ratio of the crew to the passengers, and it's the food, and a few of the other amenities. Many cruise lines now are going to all-inclusive kind of stuff. Well, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, because for the longest time, the cruise industry made more money off the stuff once you got on the ship than they did to get you on the ship to begin with, by a factor as much as 2 in some cases. So they want you on there because they've got you controlled, and especially in the Caribbean. Most of those places in the Caribbean where they port stops, when you get off and you go to one of their preferred stores, that preferred store is sending 50% of what they're doing back to that cruise line. I mean, they have got you hook, line, and sinker. And of course, the shore excursions are about 50%. If they cost the passenger $100, the cruise line's going to get 50 of it, and the vendor's only going to get 50 of it.
How do you usually do yours?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I was getting ready to say, I study the stuff ahead of time, and for those people that know the website called Viator, Viator, part of TripAdvisor, that's a really good window to any time you travel anywhere, whether cruising or land tour, to look and see what they offer, because they're pretty price sensitive and they'll tell you all about what they do. And in many, many cases, the cruise is offering the same vendor that they're using, or if Viator's using their own vendor, they're replicating what you can do on the cruise ship. And if you don't want to use any vendor, I've done this many times, you just get off the ship and start walking around, and in some ports they practically attack you. Jamaica's really bad about that. Oh, and then some of them, they casually come up and you can get a good deal. And of course, the cruise line tries to scare you to death by saying, if you're not back here by the time we leave, you're left and you got to pay to get to the next place. Yeah, that happens, but I'll bet it's 0.00001% of the time. So it's just a scare tactic, in my opinion, to get them to have you sign up for their shore excursions. Because if the shore excursion that they have is late, the ship waits for you. Yes, Mr. My officiating friend for so many years,
Robert?
he and I went to war together a lot.
Is going down the Mississippi considered a cruise or a float trip?
Yes and yes, and that has blown up. There's about 5 vendors on that now. Viking's involved with that. Viking, this Swiss-based company, has just taken over the cruise, river, ocean. Unbelievable. Probably the biggest thing they offer is no kids. Somebody said something about no kids. Oh, the cater guy. Yeah, they don't allow anybody under 18
Do
on
they
a
all
Viking
have
ship.
casinos?
No, they don't. That's another thing they don't have. I've noticed that's beginning a new trend now, James. More and more new ships are getting away from casinos. Although I think that's a heck of a source of revenue, but maybe not. Somebody else have a question?
Yeah, we've got a couple more minutes. Probably anybody from this side have a question?
Have you seem to have done a lot of research and reading. Have you, there's so many ships in each port on most days. It's a real pain in the you-know-what. Have you heard anything about trying to control that? Because it's a pain for the locals and the visitors.
Italy, Venice is trying to do that, and is doing it right now. And it's interesting you said, the last time I was in Cozumel, there were 13 cruise ships at dock or in port. You talk about overrun, that's called over-tourism. And Venice is really, I noticed Barcelona's having some issues too. And, I have property in Jackson, Wyoming, and I see there's so many, the people that it's their livelihood, they want more, and then people that are the environmentalists, for lack of a better word, they want less, and I don't know what the answer is on that. Money is a pretty strong thing. That's a big surprise to this room.
Okay, mine will be quick. Best location, worst location. How many times have you been asked to give medical assistance on the cruises?
Oh boy.
That was a 3-part short question.
Which one first? Medical assistance. Several times. I've given medical assistance on airplanes too. And captain of one flight when we were going from Iceland to New York came and got me, and I had to go back, and we landed in Labrador, probably because what I told him, and offloaded the passenger and then took off and went to JFK. So I have done it some. Lady in front of me one time on a cruise ship slipped. This is kind of a gross story. Slipped and fell down and injured herself, and she couldn't. I rendered her assistance, and I looked up and I said, we need to get somebody, because it wasn't life and death, but she needed help. And the passenger behind me in the buffet line said, could you please move her out of the way so the buffet line can get moving? That's true, folks. Absolutely true.
Dr.
sorry.
Breedlove, this is Steve Gray's son-in-law.
Yeah, I know you.
Steve Gray's son-in-law, right? Are you going to go to space as space
No,
tourism?
I wouldn't. I'm too young. I might skydive. Does that give me half credit?
No, it's a new experience. I thought you'd be interested.
That's a good one, Cody. Yes, sir.
So I didn't hear you mention on the big ships, big cruise, like the most comfortable suite to have on the ship, number one, and the price you're going to pay depends on several factors, which you will cover, I'm sure.
So it depends, obviously, on the ship. These real high-end, like a Royal Caribbean ship, for a week cruise at a place that looks like you're staying at the Taj Mahal, is about $25,000 per person, and they've got 2 or 3 of those things, and they do everything for you. And interesting enough, who signs up for those things most of the time? South American people. The wealth in South America for the high end and the low end is unbelievable. You know, it's either here or here, and they travel a lot on cruises, and that's who usually books those type of cruises.
Oh, but you mentioned not liking rocking and rolling, and there's a place on the ship, right, where you can
Yeah, if you get more in the middle of the ship, if you get in the middle of the ship, relatively low too, like about a 5th or 6th deck, you're probably going to be okay. I know
Okay.
you're out of time.
No, you're fine. Best location, worst location.
Best cruise I've ever taken was the Galapagos Islands, because I'm an animal freak, and it's an incredible experience for anybody. Has anybody been to the Galapagos? It's Charles Darwin did his theory of evolution there, of survival of the fittest, 1830, and if you go there, you get off the ship and it's like 1830 again. Ecuador governs the Galapagos, and they don't let you touch the animals, but you can get this close to them, and the animals have no fear, and it's just an incredible place. What was the other part?
Worst location.
Oh, one of the Caribbean islands. My wife thinks we're on a first-name basis with some of those people. There's like 34 islands in the Caribbean, and we've been to like 31 of them, and some of them we probably get our mail there. So probably one of the Caribbean islands.
Okay, I'm sorry. We got to finish up, but
Let
thank
me say one more
last
thing.
thing. He's got a last comment.
Thank you for letting me come for this again, and I'd be wonderfully delighted if I could come back sometime in the future and talk about healthcare. I've been on the board at OU's medical school for students, accepting students for 30 years, and I'm the making of a doctor, so to speak, and number 2, officiating. If I go on the field this year in high school, it'll be the 59th year that I'm out there. Okay?
Bless
Thank
you.
you very much, folks.
Thank you so